Excellencies, Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the meeting is called to order. We shall now consider Agenda Item 6, Management Issues, which includes the following sub-items. A proposed program plan for 2020 contained in document ESCAP/75/26 and the supplementary information on the program plan and performance information in document ESCAP/75/INF/2. B. Program changes for the Biennium 2018 to 2019 contained in document ESCAP/75/27. C. Overview of partnerships, extra-budgetary contributions and capacity development contained in document ESCAP/75/28. And D, the report of the evaluation of the Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology contained in documents ESCAP/75/29 and ESCAP/75/INF/3. I would now like to invite the Executive Secretary, Ms. Amina Salsia Alice Jabana, to deliver a statement on the sub-items A and B for management issues. Madam, you have the floor.
Honorable Chair, Mr. Mahituponia, distinguished delegates, it is a pleasure to be with you to focus on management issues. Allow me to say a few brief words about each of the documents you are considering today. On the proposed program plan of UN ESCAP for 2020, or document ESCAP/75/26, is the first annual plan developed by the Secretariat. We have done so based on the General Assembly's endorsement of the Advisory Committee on Administrative and Budgetary Questions, recommendations on management reform. These require a move to an annual cycle of planning and budgeting from 2020. The plan should be considered alongside the supplementary information in document ESCAP/75/INF/2. The program plan provides the overall orientation for UN ESCAP and details 13 frameworks for each sub-program for the program period. It provides an outline of how UN ESCAP will work with member states and partners, including sub-regional organizations, to support the implementation of the 2030 Agenda. Every effort has been made to reflect the priorities of our member states. The document was reviewed by the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives, or ACPR, and the Department of Management, Strategy, Policy and Compliance to ensure coherence with the work conducted by other offices of the Secretariat. The next stage is for the proposed program plan to be reviewed by the Committee for Program and Coordination and considered by the Advisory Committee on Administrative and Budgetary Questions, 5th Committee. Based on this committee's recommendation, it should be adopted by the General Assembly in late 2019. The Secretariat seeks your endorsement of the program plan for 2020. We count on your government support as it goes through the approval process with the Committee for Program and Coordination and the 5th Committee. I would like now to turn to program changes for the Biennium 2018-2019 in document ESCAP/75/27. The majority of the proposed program changes refer to the deletion of outputs related to the Center for Alleviation of Poverty through Sustainable Agriculture, or CAPSA. This follows the decision to transform the Center for Alleviation of Poverty through Sustainable Agriculture to a new intergovernmental organization outside the United Nations system at the 74th session of the Commission in Resolution 74/5. The other proposed changes to the program of work reflect decisions by regional bodies under the Commission and have no regular budget implications. The Secretariat seeks your endorsement of these program changes to the 2018-2019 program of work.
Thank you, Madam Executive Secretary. May I now open the floor to delegates for their statements on agenda item 6A, proposed program plan for 2020. And there doesn't seem to be any speakers, any delegation wanting to speak. Therefore, may I now draw your attention to draft decision 27 as contained in CRP 1. Do I take it that we can recommend draft decision 27 for adoption? It is so decided. With that, the discussions on the agenda item 6A is concluded. We now move to agenda item 6B, program changes for the biennium 2018 to 2019, as contained in document ESCAP/75/27. As the Madam Executive Secretary has already spoken on this agenda item, I would like to open the floor to delegates to make statements on agenda item 6B. And again, I don't see any requests to speak. May I now draw your attention to draft decision 28 as contained in CRP 1. Do I take it that we can recommend draft decision 28 for adoption? It is so decided. I would now like to invite Madam Executive Secretary to deliver a statement on sub-item C, the overview of partnerships, extra budgetary contributions and capacity development as contained in document ESCAP/75/28. Madam, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates. Allow me to now turn to the overview of UN ESCAP partnerships and the outcomes of capacity development activities funded by extra budgetary contributions received in 2018. In document ESCAP/75/28. We have continued to expand and strengthen partnerships across the board. Through our leadership of the Asia-Pacific Regional Coordination Mechanism, or RCM, we coordinated the United Nations system at the regional level to support member states to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. In so doing, we have moved to strengthen our collaboration with the resident coordinators and the UN country teams. We offer member states support for their preparation of voluntary national reviews, or VNRs, strengthening capacity for statistics, and investment needs assessment. UN ESCAP has continued to work with regional and sub-regional organizations, seeking complementarity between their frameworks and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. For instance, UN ESCAP and ASEAN have continued to collaborate on the implementation of the Plan of Action under the Joint Declaration on Comprehensive Partnership between ASEAN and the United Nations for the period of 2016 until 2020. Working with the Pacific Islands Forum, UN ESCAP has supported the development and implementation of the Pacific Roadmap for Sustainable Development and helped formulate a sub-regional approach to achieve the 2030 Agenda. UN ESCAP has continued to actively collaborate with regional development banks. I have taken steps to further strengthen the partnership between ESCAP and the ADB, or Asian Development Bank, and many joint activities were undertaken in the areas of joint interest, such as SDGs, energy, trade facilitation, and transport connectivity. I hope this can be a basis for further substantial collaboration. We have taken steps to strengthen ESCAP's partnership with the Islamic Development Bank and the Economic Cooperation Organization, with whom we are undertaking a study on the commercialization of the regional railway corridor. ESCAP has also taken forward South-South and triangular cooperation. In 2018, ESCAP partnered with the government of Thailand, the government of Indonesia, to organize regional dialogues in the lead up to the second high-level UN Conference on South-South Cooperation. The General Assembly has given strong mandates to the UN regional commissions to continue this work, the reference of which is Resolution /A/RES/73/291. ESCAP will work with all stakeholders to prepare the next meeting of the Regional South-South Cooperation Forum this year.
Thank you, Madam Executive Secretary. May I now call upon the Secretariat to make an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the outset of this discussion, conference room officers sent around pledging forms for your convenience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. We will now open the floor to delegates for the statements on agenda item 6C. The first speaker on our list is the distinguished delegate from Thailand. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Distinguished delegates, Thailand has supported and will continue to support ESCAP regional institutions and bodies. We view that valuable support from ESCAP donors and development partners is crucial for ESCAP to advance the sustainable economic and social development and the attainment of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Therefore, we are pleased to announce our contributions for the year 2019 as follows. First, for Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology, APCTT, in the amount of $15,000. Second, for Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific, SIAP, in the amount of $23,000. Third, for Center for Sustainable Agricultural Mechanization, or CSAM, in the amount of $15,000. CSAM has supported the Asian and Pacific Network for Testing of Agricultural Machinery, or ANTAM, in the preparation of 3 standard codes for agricultural machines, in which Thailand also took part. We highly appreciate CSAM's role in this regard. For Trust Fund for the Pacific Island countries, in the amount of $1,000. 5, for ESCAP WMO Typhoon Committee Trust Fund, in the amount of $12,000. And 6, for WMO ESCAP Panel on Tropical Cyclones Trust Fund, in the amount of $3,000. This brings the total amount of the contributions of the Royal Thai government to the regional institutions and projects related to ESCAP in 2019 at $69,000. We are also awaiting confirmation on further intended contributions of concerned agency, which will be communicated to the Secretariat in due course. Apart from these amounts, Thailand, as a host country of ESCAP, is also pleased to give in-kind contributions to ESCAP-related bodies to further its goals and objectives. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Thailand, and may I invite the distinguished delegate of India to take the floor.
Thank you, Excellency. India deeply appreciates the role played by UNESCAP in promoting SDGs and also excellent work being done by the regional bodies and institutions affiliated to UNESCAP. India pledges $400,000 for Asia and Pacific Training Center for Transfer of Technology based at New Delhi. $25,000 US for Statistical Institute for Asia and Pacific based in China, $15,000 US for Center of Sustainable Agricultural Mechanization, and $79,000 for Sub-Regional Office for South and Southwest Asia. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the distinguished delegates of India, and may I call upon the distinguished delegates of Japan to take the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Recalling our statement on the contribution at the last commission, since we had deep concern about the staffing pattern of Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific, SIAP, which had not been changed at that moment, we were not able to express our contribution for SIAP, both cash and in-kind, last year. This year, as expressed in the agenda item 4J, regarding the report of the Governing Council of SIAP on its 14th session, we could have confirmed that recruitment procedures for the level of the lecturers, which we have requested, are now underway. Subject to the number of lecturers will be maintained as before, so that Japan will be able to support SIAP continuously. Now, my delegation would like to announce the Japanese contributions to SIAP for Japan's fiscal year from April 2019 to March 2020. With regard to the work plan of the SIAP for 2019, as the host government, Japan is ready to provide SIAP with contributions, both cash and in-kind, in accordance with the agreement and its annual budgetary appropriations, including addressing the 2030 agenda, considering the importance of the role of SIAP as a statistical training institution, as for the duration of 1 year from April 2019 through March 2020. The government of Japan intends to make a cash contribution of $1,812,400 US, which is about $10,000 more than last year, including $70,700 US to conduct training courses in Japan. As for the in-kind contribution, the government of Japan also intends to make the equivalent to $1,112,545 US, bringing the total amount of contribution to almost $3 million US. Furthermore, as a part of its technical cooperation program, the government of Japan intends to offer fellowships for the training for 40 participants through Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA.
In addition, the government of Japan plans to provide a financial contribution in the amount of $27,594 US to Japan ESCAP Cooperation Fund for the fiscal year 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegates of Japan. May I invite the distinguished delegate of Cambodia to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For Cambodia, sustainable agricultural mechanization has a vital role to play in modernizing agricultural production, promoting food security, and conserving the natural resource base. It also has an important role in promoting sustainability through agroecological practices and agricultural conservation. Center for Sustainable Agricultural Mechanization, CSAM, for the Asia and Pacific is serving member countries in the Asia-Pacific region to promote knowledge sharing, capacity building, and regional cooperation for sustainable agricultural mechanization. Engagement of Cambodia with CSAM. Cambodia is an active participant and contributor to Center for Sustainable Agricultural Mechanization for Asia and Pacific in many programs such as the Regional Forum on Sustainable Agricultural Mechanization, Asian and Pacific Network for Testing of Agricultural Machinery, and knowledge sharing on mechanization solution for agricultural conservation. Cambodia has hosted events such as the regional workshop on establishing a regional database of agricultural mechanization in 2014, regional workshop on the role of mechanization in strengthening smallholder resilience through conservation agriculture in Asia and the Pacific in 2018, and regional training on mechanization aspect of agricultural conservation for smallholder farmers. And recently, at the beginning of this month, May 2019, we organized the regional training on appropriate scale mechanization for agricultural conservation. Cambodia has been making voluntary financial contribution of $10,000 to relevant center under ESCAP as a mark of support for its programs. We commit to contribute our support in kind and budget contribution as we could do more to support ESCAP and its centers. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegates of Cambodia. May I ask whether there are any more delegates wishing to make statements? Republic of Korea. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The Republic of Korea has been a strong supporter of ESCAP's work, and in this context has been consistently one of its major donors. In 2018, the Republic of Korea, through all levels of government and various public agencies, has contributed a total of $5.3 million to ESCAP. In addition, 6 experts from various fields in Korea are seconded to the ESCAP as NRLs to support ESCAP's projects. In 2019, while the concrete figures have not been tabulated yet, we foresee a contribution in similar amounts. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of the Republic of Korea. Distinguished delegates of China, you have the floor.
谢谢主席先生。主席先生，中国政府高度重视 ESCAP 的作用。2019年，中国将向中国 ESCAP 合作基金继续捐赠100万美元加150万元人民币。同时，我们将向亚太统计研究所专款7万美元，向 APCTT 3万美元，向 NISPAC 专款5万美元。同时，中国残联还将向 ESCAP 残疾人专门账户专款1万美元。亚太农机中心是位于中国的机构，作为东道国，中国政府高度重视该机构的发挥的作用。同时，我们也积极承担东道国的责任。我们将向该中心提供160万美元的行政经费。同时，还将向 CSAM 提供12万美元的项目经费。谢谢主席先生。
Thank you, distinguished delegates of China. Distinguished delegates of Bangladesh, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Bangladesh is always supporting the ESCAP program and activities. Bangladesh is contributing funds for different ESCAP regional institutions. We will be continuing our support like the previous time, and we are also exploring to trying to increase the fund in previous time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bangladesh. Are there any more delegates wishing to take the floor? I see none. May I therefore draw attention to draft decision 29 as contained in CRP 1. Do I take it that we can recommend draft decision 29, which will also include a list of all the countries who have made pledges today for adoption? It is so decided. Can we now move to agenda item 6D, the report on the evaluation of the Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology as contained in documents ESCAP/75/29 and ESCAP/75/INF/3. May I hereby invite Madam Executive Secretary to deliver her statement on this sub-item. Madam, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Distinguished delegates, finally, let me turn to the report on the evaluation of the Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer and Technology, or APCTT, document ESCAP/75/29. In 2015, the Commission decided to review the continued relevance and financial viability of each regional institution every 5 years. The Secretariat commissioned an independent evaluation of the Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology in 2018. I'm pleased to submit for your consideration its main conclusions and recommendations for improving the results orientation, relevance, sustainability, and efficiency of the center. The full report of the evaluation is contained in the information note ESCAP/75/INF/3. I welcome the recommendation of the evaluation focus on ensuring APCTT continues to serve the needs of member states. I also appreciated the full cooperation accorded by the member states, the host government, and other development partners during the evaluation. I have committed to taking appropriate action together with my senior management team. Details of this commitment are contained in the same document ESCAP/75/29. I consulted the host government on its financial contribution to the center through an official mission to New Delhi in January 2019. This confirmed the host government would like to strengthen the center within the framework of the host country agreement. It is actively considering enhancing its voluntary contribution for institutional support. I will continue to engage in bilateral discussions with the Government of India to address the issues related to APCTT. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Madam Executive Secretary. Before I open the floor to delegates to make statements on agenda item 6D, I would like to recall that yesterday China requested that we consider the report of the Governing Council of the Asian and Pacific Center for Transfer of Technology on its 14th session, as contained in document ESCAP/75/19 in conjunction with this agenda item. With that, may I invite the first speaker on my list, which is the distinguished delegate of India, to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Government of India welcomes the findings of the report that the mandate of APCTT remains relevant in context of the ongoing reforms of ESCAP and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Government of India has been supporting APCTT, a prestigious regional institution of ESCAP, for the last 40 years, both financially and intellectually. We are making voluntary contributions in cash and through various facilities. India is committed to support APCTT to enable it to deliver effective services to members and associate members on a sustainable basis. India, as has already been announced, has conveyed its decision to enhance the institutional contribution from the current $200,000 to $400,000 to strengthen the center and to create a comfortable financial resource base for the center to deliver various capacity building programs in the Asia-Pacific region. As indicated in the report, APCTT current annual spending is within $300,000. The Government of India is of the firm belief that the enhanced annual institutional support of $400,000 will allow the center to function more efficiently with greater focus on transferring, disseminating, and diffusing emerging and environmentally sound technologies to developing countries on favorable terms and in delivering sound capacity development and technical cooperation work. The evaluation report specifically mentions the accomplishments of APCTT that have been useful or have made impact in the member countries in Asia-Pacific region. These countries are Malaysia, Philippines, Iran, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Korea, Japan, Fiji, and India. India wishes to also draw the attention of member countries to the recommendation 3 of the evaluation committee report, which calls upon the member states of APCTT to implement 2009 Governing Council decision urging the member states to increase annual contribution to $30,000 for non-LDC countries and to $7,000 for the LDC countries. We would seek UNESCAP support in finalizing the future roadmap for utilizing the additional budget outlay within the framework of the host country agreement. Government of India would like to reiterate its position that there should not be any violation in the host country agreement while strengthening the staff and resource base of the center. India would also like to take this opportunity to seek UNESCAP support in securing increase of voluntary contributions not only from the member states but also through other program-based activities. With this, thank you, Chair.
I thank the distinguished delegate of India. May I ask whether there are any more delegates who wish to make statements? As I see no further requests to speak, may I now draw your attention to draft decisions 20 and 30 as contained in CRP 1. Distinguished delegate of China, you have the floor.
谢谢主席先生。主席先生，刚才我们听了这个尊敬的印度代表的发言，我们也仔细的研究了，就是这个外部专家的提交的审议报告，在75号INF-3这个文件，我们注意到这个亚太信息技术转让亚太技术转让中心 APCTT。 那么在过去14年中，它的员工从14人降到了6人。另外，我不知道这个是一个什么考虑，是通过减少人员增加效率，还是有其他的制约因素？那么6个人是不是能够让这个中心有效的这个运作？另外，它的经费，刚才我们尊敬的印度代表表示，他说现在他们已经增加到40万美元。 那么每年40万美元是不是够这个中心的运行费用？因为根据2016年达成的72-3 ESCAP 72号-3决议，这个 ESCAP 呢的附属机构它的运行费用应该完全由这个预算外资金支持。我不知道这方面现在目前情况怎么样，希望能够秘书处能够做出一些解释。谢谢。
Thank you, distinguished delegate of China. I ask the Secretariat to respond. Madam Executive Secretary, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the honorable delegate of China for that question. If you look at the Governing Council decision number 5, it states that the Governing Council requests the Secretariat to continue in bilateral discussions with the Government of India to amicably resolve the issue of the host country agreement and funding required for internationally recruited staff. It also requests that the Secretariat to report on the results of the discussions to the Governing Council at its 15th session. The Secretariat has initiated these discussions with the visit of the Executive Secretary and will continue to hold these discussions with the Government of India in the coming year up to the Governing Council, and will make its report as requested by the Governing Council to its 15th session on these issues. Thank you very much.
I thank the Director of SPMD. China, you have the floor again.
谢谢秘书处刚才做出的这个解释。我事实上也是注意到了他的理事会确实是提出了很多的建议。那么您刚才提到的这个第5条建议，我们当然也希望它能够得到好的落实。但是从刚才我们听到的曾经的印度代表发言，他已经明确表示，他们不能同意跟秘书处重新谈判东道国协定。所以我不知道秘书处在这方面你们准备怎么继续谈？另外就是对这个。对，另外就是刚才我提到的，就是说每年这个中心现在要维持它的基本运转是什么情况，现在它的人员配置情况是什么样，我也希望能够得到一个清晰的了解。我觉得我们作为大会是这个 ESCAP 的这个最高的决策机构，作为 ESCAP 的附属机构向我们提交了一个报告，他们反映出了非常突出的问题，他们表示已经遇到了非常严重的财政困难，已经影响到了这个机构的有效运作。这是这个理事会的报告的内容。我想对于这种报告的内容，如果我们大会不做出适当的反应，那是我们的渎职。谢谢。
I thank the distinguished delegates of China, and may I call upon the distinguished delegates of India to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My distinguished friend from China has raised issues about severe financial difficulty. So I would like to draw the attention of the member states of APCTT towards the evaluation report. And in the evaluation report, the financial gap, the viability gap, is about $100,000. India has already increased its contributions from $200,000 to $400,000. So I do not think that it would be appropriate to call the financial problem that APCTT is facing as a severe financial difficulty. The second issue is that APCTT is a members-driven organization. It is not only incumbent upon India, but also upon the other member states of APCTT to also extend efforts and to make endeavors to increase its financial viability. And as I have already mentioned in my previous remarks, that the evaluation report, specifically recommendation number 3, it draws the attention of the members of APCTT towards the Governing Council's decision in 2009, wherein the non-LDC members were requested to increase their contribution to $30,000 and LDC members to $7,000. So I would just request the ESCAP Secretariat to also engage in discussions with the other member states of APCTT towards this end. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the distinguished delegates of India. May I ask whether there are any other delegates who wish to take the floor? I see no further requests, so may I again draw your attention to draft decisions 20. Oh. May I please draw your attention to draft decisions 20 and 30 as contained in CRP 1. Do I take it that we can recommend draft decisions 20 and 30 for adoption?
China.
Distinguished delegates of China, you have the floor.
尊敬的主席先生，很抱歉，我再次要求发言，因为我们现在是这个大会收到了一份报告，要求我们大会进行审议。那么报告里面提出了一些问题， 从今天刚才的答案之中，刚才的讨论之中，我们并没有听到明显的答案。我们就这样把这个报告就过了，我觉得这是我们的渎职。大会有义务对这个问题进行跟踪，应该表达大会的关切，应该对下一步如何解决这个问题提出解决的思路。所以，我不认为我们现在就应该就过这个报告，而应该是表明大会对这个问题的态度。谢谢。
Thank you, distinguished delegates of China and distinguished delegate of India. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I would like to place on record that the Governing Council meeting, which happened in December 2018, was attended by the member states of APCTT, including China. The recommendations contained in the report have an express consent of all the member states who were present there. So first of all, I do not see any reason for a member state to roll back upon the consent that it had given earlier. This forum is only for adoption of that report. The formulation of the report contains an intrinsic consent of all the member states who were present there. Secondly, Mr. Chair, I would like to draw your attention to Decision 5, to which my distinguished friend from China is referring to, which is about ESCAP engaging with Government of India on certain issues. I would like to draw your attention to the last line in that decision, which clearly indicates that after the consultations between ESCAP and Government of India, the result of these discussions will be reported to the Governing Council in its 15th session. The 15th session, Mr. Chair, of APCTT's Governing Council would be scheduled later in the year. So this is a work in progress. To question a work in progress and to presume that it will not result into an amicable solution, I think is premature. So with this, I would request that there should be no doubts in minds of any of the member states of APCTT to adopt this report.
I thank the distinguished delegates of India, and I now give the floor to the distinguished delegate of China.
谢谢主席。主席，理事会的报告向更高一级的 authority 提交，我想这是一个决策程序，而且我不知道有多少人仔细的研究了这个报告。这报告的标题，第一个大标题就是要求大会采取行动和引起注意，专门向大会提出来，这是我们要求大会采取行动和引起注意。所以这些问题是大会是应该做出反应的，而不是简单的通过报告。谢谢。
No, the chair would like to ask for a 5-minute break, please. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, may I propose that whilst there are consultations in progress, that we move on to agenda item 7 in the interest of time, which is the midterm review of the conference structure of the Commission. Under this agenda item, we are considering document ESCAP/75/30, midpoint review of the conference structure of the Commission in implementation of Resolution 73/1, and document ESCAP 75/INF/4, midpoint review of the conference structure of the Commission, the Chair's summary of discussions. May I therefore invite the Madam Executive Secretary to deliver a statement on agenda item 7. Madam, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Distinguished delegates, over the years, the Commission has regularly reviewed its conference structure to respond to the evolving development challenges and opportunities in the Asia-Pacific region, as well as to continuously improve its effectiveness and efficiency. ESCAP member states recently reformed the conference structure of the Commission. In 2015, the conference structure review ensured ESCAP's sectoral streams effectively supported regional priorities in the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The Committee on Energy was established. Financing for development and science, technology, and innovation were added to existing subsidiary bodies. The latest review in 2017 institutionalized the Asia-Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development as an integral part of the conference structure, establishing it as the cornerstone for regional follow-up and review of the 2030 Agenda. In 2017, in its Resolution 73/1, the Commission decided to review its conference structure at its 78th session in 2022, with a midpoint review in 2019. As a basis for this review, I was requested to submit a report focusing on the program areas of the Commission. This midpoint review happens at a time when the United Nations Development System is being reformed to better support its member states achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. This year, the reform focuses on the regional dimensions. The latest report of the Secretary General has outlined proposals for strengthening coordination at the regional level. Next year, the whole United Nations Secretariat will shift to an annual budget cycle. As the Executive Secretary, I am committed to revitalizing the Commission and ensure it remains alive to the evolving priorities of its members and associate members. I have established an eminent person advisory group to give views on how best to reposition ESCAP and identifying strategic policy areas on which we should sharpen our focus to accelerate progress towards the 2030 Agenda. The report before you contains recommendation on, first, the content of the Commission session, second, the organization of the Commission session, and third, the subsidiary bodies of the Commission. In its discussions on the review of the conference structure, the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives, or ACPR, underscored the importance of ensuring the continued relevance of the Commission. The Advisory Committee nonetheless felt that major issues of a programmatic nature should be better deferred until after the 75th session of the Commission because of the ongoing reform of the United Nations Development System. The draft decisions presented to the Commission for adoption under this agenda item reflect these discussions. I note the proposals designed to improve the planning and conduct of Commission sessions, as well as the proposal to establish an open-ended working group to consider issues pertinent to the review of the conference structure of the Commission. The working group will report its findings and recommendations to the Commission at its 76th session in 2020. The Secretariat stands ready to support the deliberations of the working group and work with Member States to improve ESCAP's relevance, efficiency, and impact. I look forward to hearing the views of Member States. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Executive Secretary. May I therefore open the floor to distinguished delegates for their statements on agenda item 7. As I see no further requests, I see now Republic of Korea, first on the list, and then Pakistan, please.
Thank you, Chair. Since its establishment in 1947, ESCAP has played an important role, first as the agency for post-war reconstruction, and since the mid-1970s for economic and social development. We trust ESCAP will continue to play an important role in supporting members, particularly in their efforts to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. At the same time, it should be mentioned that the changing needs of the region, coupled with increased competition from the emergence of other forums, calls for ESCAP to be more adaptive, effective, and efficient. It also calls for the deliverables that are more productive and pragmatic to members. In this context, we welcome the midterm review. We also welcome the different initiatives of the Executive Secretary. However, we take this opportunity to suggest that ESCAP consider a more proactive approach to other issues, such as structure and tasks of the Commission, and on issues concerning synergies with other global, regional, and sub-regional forums. Circumstances and the needs of members are changing. We would like to see ESCAP evolving and transforming, thereby enhancing its impact and visibility in the region. The Republic of Korea will remain engaged in these discussions. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of the Republic of Korea, and may I invite the distinguished delegate of Pakistan to take the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good afternoon, distinguished delegates. This session is of particular significance as we are conducting the midpoint review of the conference structure of ESCAP. This is important to keep ESCAP aligned with the changing realities. Reviewing the conference structure of the Commission is indeed a major undertaking. In the previous months, we extensively discussed the content, organization, and the subsidiary bodies of the Commission. I would like to commend the Secretariat for facilitating those discussions by producing valuable documents and answering the queries raised by the Member States. Active participation and constructive contribution of the Member States led to many specific recommendations to improve the working and objectivity of ESCAP. While we would be adopting some of those recommendations at this session, others need more deliberation and reflection. Pakistan supports the incremental approach to the review process. Pakistan will continue to actively participate in the review process and work with the other Member States to make ESCAP an efficient, resilient, and representative regional organization. I thank you.
Thank the distinguished delegate of Pakistan. And may I ask whether there are any further requests for the floor? As I see none, may I now draw your attention to draft decisions 31, 32, 33, and 34 as contained in CRP 1. I understand that delegates have had further consultations on these draft decisions in the working group on the draft resolution, and I understand the delegates have agreed to drop draft decision 32, and that delegates have also agreed to new language for draft decision 34. So may I now request the Secretariat to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The language in draft 34, as discussed and agreed by the Working Group on Draft Resolutions, is as follows. At its 5th plenary meeting on 31 May 2019, the Commission, recognizing the need for the Commission to adapt and respond to the evolving development challenges and opportunities within the Asia-Pacific region, and to be fit for purpose in line with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, decided to establish an open-ended working group to further consider issues pertinent to the review of the conference structure of the Commission, as provided for by its Resolution 71/1 and Resolution 73/1, and requested the working group to report its findings and recommendations to the Commission at its 76th session, without prejudice to the final review of the conference structure to be conducted at the 78th session of the Commission. The Commission also requested the Executive Secretary to make appropriate arrangements and to provide necessary and requested information to support the deliberations of the open-ended working group on the review of the conference structure of the Commission. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the Secretary of the Commission. Excellencies and distinguished delegates, do I therefore take it that we have agreed to drop draft decision 32 and we can recommend draft decisions 31, 33 and 34 as amended for adoption? It is so decided. With that, we can have concluded discussion on agenda item 7. And we can now move on to consider agenda item 8, activities of the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives and other representatives designated by members of the Commission. Under this agenda item, we are considering document ESCAP/75/31, reports of the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives and other representatives designated by members of the Commission. May I therefore invite the Rapporteur of the ACPR, Her Excellency Ms. Suchitra Durai, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary and Permanent Representative of India to ESCAP, to the podium to present the reports of the ACPR to the Commission. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon to everyone. Madam Executive Secretary, distinguished delegates, I'm honored to introduce to you today the report of the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives and other representatives designated by members of the Commission on its activities since the last session of the Commission in May 2018 until March of this year. As you may recall, the Commission, in its Resolution 73/1, had entrusted the Advisory Committee with several functions, including strengthening close cooperation and consultation between Member States and the Secretariat, serving as a deliberative forum for substantive exchange of views, and providing guidance on the formulation of the ESCAP agenda, as well as advising the Executive Secretary on the program of work and preparations for the Commission and its subsidiary committees. In the elapsed time since the last session of the Commission, the committee has done just that. The Advisory Committee has held 6 regular sessions during the past year. In addition, 3 informal consultations of the Advisory Committee were held to initiate discussions about the midpoint review of the conference structure of the Commission, in line with Commission Resolution 73/1. Moreover, the Advisory Committee convened its informal working group on draft resolutions, which was chaired by Her Excellency Ms. Roshan Yezbulatova, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary and Permanent Representative of Kazakhstan to ESCAP, and Mr. Hiroshi Kawamura, Minister and Deputy Chief of Mission and Permanent Representative of Japan to ESCAP as Vice Chair, to undertake an initial review of the draft resolutions before their submission to this session of the Commission for its consideration. Mr. Chair, allow me to highlight a few key activities of the Advisory Committee from document ESCAP/75/31 placed before you. The Advisory Committee reviewed the outcomes of the 74th session of the Commission and provided advice and guidance on the implementation of the 11 resolutions adopted at this session. The Advisory Committee also reviewed the preparations made by the Secretariat for the current 75th session of the Commission. The past year has seen the members of the Advisory Committee closely reviewing preparations for and outcomes of a broad range of meetings convened by ESCAP in several sectoral streams, including information and communications technology, science, technology and innovation, space applications for sustainable development, statistics, transport, environment, social development and population, and trade and investment. Furthermore, the Advisory Committee reviewed the preparations for the 6th Asia-Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development. The Advisory Committee also examined the outcomes of the sessions of the governing councils of the 5 regional institutions of ESCAP. Throughout the year, the Executive Secretary of ESCAP, and prior to her appointment, the officer in charge of the Secretariat regularly informed the Advisory Committee of activities relating to priority issues of the United Nations and outcomes of her missions and participation in major meetings. Mr. Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, to sum up, the Advisory Committee provided valuable advice and guidance to the Secretariat in the past year, while remaining conscious of the importance of monitoring the implementation of Commission resolutions and improving coordination among all relevant stakeholders in pursuing the economic, social, and environmental agenda of ESCAP. As the rapporteur of the ACPR, it's my honor to hereby submit for consideration by the Commission the report of the Advisory Committee of Permanent Representatives and other representatives designated by members of the Commission. I look forward to comments from the meeting and would be pleased to entertain any questions there may be. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. May I therefore open the floor to delegates for their statements on the agenda item 8. I see first on our list, the distinguished delegate from Bangladesh. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me floor. Distinguished delegates, good afternoon. I would like to thank His Excellency Ambassador and PR of India for very comprehensive and articulated report, and also for Secretariat for arranging meetings and provide all kinds of supports. Bangladesh attended all the meeting of SCPR and played a very important role. Bangladesh thinks the SCPR is the platform where member states and Secretariat meet together and get an opportunity to exchange views. We hope in future SCPR will play a very more active and effective role in the works and programs of ESCAP. I thank you all.
I thank the distinguished delegate from Bangladesh. Are there any other requests for the floor from distinguished delegates? I don't see any requests to speak, so may I now draw your attention to draft decision 35 as contained in CRP 1. Do I take it that we can recommend draft decision 35 for adoption? It is so decided. May I propose to Excellencies and distinguished delegates if we could move ahead to agenda item 10 on other matters? I see no objection. So would any delegations wish to take the floor on any other pertinent matter that has not been covered during the course of our deliberations? I see no requests for the floor, so may I please ask the Secretary of the Commission to report on the results of the elections for the governing councils of the two regional institutions. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. The Secretariat closed nominations for the election to the governing councils of the Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific and the Asian and Pacific Center for the Development of Disaster Information Management at 5 p.m. on Monday, 27 May 2019. Balloting for the two governing councils was conducted earlier today from 10 to 12:30 p.m. Counting was held immediately after the balloting. 43 member countries attended both elections, and I'm pleased to announce the results of the vote as follows. For the Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific, in accordance with the Center's statute, Japan, as host country, automatically is a member of the governing council. 14 nominations were received for 8 additional seats, and the following countries were elected to 3-year terms for the period 2019 to 2022 in the following order, in alphabetical order. Bangladesh, China, India, Mongolia, Pakistan, the Republic of Korea, the Russian Federation, and Thailand. Mr. Chair, with regard to the Asian and Pacific Center for the Development of Disaster Information Management, the Center's statute stipulates that as the host country, the Islamic Republic of Iran automatically is a member of the Governing Council. 8 nominations were received for the 8 additional seats on the Governing Council. And I'm pleased to announce that the following countries were elected to 3-year terms for the period 2019 to 2022. Bangladesh, Cambodia, Fiji, India, Mongolia, Pakistan, Turkey, and Macau, China. The results of these 2 elections will be recorded in the report of the Commission. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. May I ask whether any delegations have comments on this matter? As I see no requests, this hereby concludes our deliberations on all the substantive items on this agenda item 10.
This
The distinguished delegate of Pakistan, you have the floor to comment on agenda item 10.
Thank you very much, Chair, for giving me the floor. I just wanted to thank all the ESCAP member states who voted for Pakistan. Pakistan highly appreciates their support, trust, and friendship. Thank you very much.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Pakistan. Excellencies and distinguished delegates, we may now move on to consider agenda item 9, the date, venue and theme topic for the 76th session of the Commission 2020. Under this agenda item, we are considering document ESCAP/75/32. I understand that the working group on draft resolutions has discussed the issue of the theme topic for the 76th session several times, both in formal and informal settings. I have been briefed by the Chair and Vice Chair of the working group on the discussions held and the views expressed. I was also informed that the working group was not able to make a recommendation on the theme topic in light of different preferences expressed by the members, and has asked the Chair to put forward a proposal on this matter. I understand that all three proposals enjoy some level of support. However, it seems that the majority of members are inclined towards the first topic on oceans. I understand that this is not the first preference for certain delegations, but I would appeal to the spirit of compromise and cooperation the delegates have already shown in the course of this session to enable us to continue the past practice of having consensus around the theme that has the broadest level of support. I would therefore propose that the Commission selects the topic that appears to enjoy the broadest support, namely oceans. Would this proposal be acceptable? Distinguished delegate from China, you have the floor.
主席先生，中国代表团，请您把刚才的建议，再重述一遍。
Yes, the distinguished delegate of China. I understand the three proposals have enjoyed some level of support. However, it seems that a majority of members are inclined towards the first topic, the theme topic on oceans. I therefore understand that it is not the first preference for certain delegations, but I would strongly appeal to the spirit of compromise and cooperation the delegates have already shown in the course of this session to enable us to continue the past practice of having consensus around the theme that has the broadest level of support. I would therefore propose that the Commission selects the topic that appears to enjoy the broadest support, which is oceans. May I therefore ask whether this proposal is acceptable? Distinguished delegates of China, you have the floor.
谢谢主席先生再次介绍了您的提议。关于明年年会的主题，中国代表团想借此机会阐述一下我们的原则立场。年会的主题对于确立亚太经社会明年1年的合作的方向、重点和基调具有重要意义。我们希望年会主题能够最大限度地照顾到各方的关切和要求。遗憾的是，在前一段时间密集的磋商过程中，我们的意见 中方的意见没有能够得到希腊。在磋商的进程中，工作方法上也出现了一些问题，因此，现在中国代表团无法支持主席刚才提出的建议。你提出的建议是我们刚刚听到的。我们需要进行认真的研究。我们仔细阅读了会议的议程。中国代表团建议推迟，就你刚才的提议做出决定。谢谢主席先生。
Thank you, distinguished delegate of China. Are there any requests for the floor from distinguished delegates? Distinguished delegate from the United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Chair, thank you very much. Recognizing, of course, the important concerns of our colleagues from China, I think, as we've all discussed over the last day, the challenge with postponing this proposal is that actually many of the delegates currently gathered here today cannot make it should we postpone to an ACPR meeting or something similar. So whether we end up going with the proposal that you have helpfully put forward, Chair, which I think we would support, or a different one, I would urge that we as a Commission come to a conclusion today or certainly this week. Thank you.
Thank the distinguished delegate of the United Kingdom. Distinguished delegates of the United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to take this opportunity to echo some of the comments made by the distinguished delegate from the United Kingdom, in that we feel that this is a special opportunity with so many of us present in the room. And if, as the delegate from China expressed, we are all able to put forward our concerns, it is today, this week, that the most number of positions are going to be able to be considered fully. And so we strongly support all delegations today to work together as we have over the past several weeks now to find consensus on this very important issue.
I thank the delegation, United States of America. Are there any other requests for the floor? May I respectfully request the distinguished delegate of China whether there are any comments or responses to the previous two speakers?
主席先生，我认真听了，英国代表和美国代表的发言。我想再次强调，中国代表团重视明年主题的选择工作。 我们在这个问题上一直采取慎重和负责任的态度，目的就是让所有 ESCAP 的成员和准成员都能有效的参与明年1年的工作，能够找到获得归属感和获得感。目前，主席先生提出的这个议题方向，离我们的预期和要求还有差距，还有很大的差距。我们愿意利用这届联会剩余的时间，同所有的与会方进行磋商和沟通，争取能够找到协商一致。我们也反对任何就明年议题的选择进行投票或者变相的投票。我们认为这是不负责任的行为，也是对亚太经社会长远发展不利的。我们强烈呼吁各方能够利用剩余的时间，加紧沟通磋商。我们也愿意看到会议主席您作为大会主席，在此过程中发挥积极作用。我们也愿意配合你的工作。谢谢。
Thank the distinguished delegates of China. Are there any other requests for the floor? Distinguished delegates of Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My delegation would like to say that my delegation prefers to the decision taken on this matter by consensus. And having said that, my delegation has asked clarification from the distinguished delegate of China through Mr. Chair. The distinguished delegates mentioned that the postponement of the consideration, is it the postponement consideration until when? I mean, we are not clear what is meant by the postponement by the Chinese delegation. Perhaps his delegation can say a few words on that. Thank you. That would be helpful for us all. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Japan. Distinguished delegate of China, you have the floor.
谢谢日本代表的提问。我想我们的目标和大家的目标是一致的。我们也充分理解，秘书处需要尽可能早的确立明年年会的主题，以便于他们能够尽早的启动有关报告的准备和这个年会的筹备工作。我想我借此机会也再次明确，中国代表团支持在本届年会闭幕之前，就明年的年会有个说法。我们愿意为此做出努力。
May I ask whether any of the distinguished delegations have any other comments towards reaching a consensus? distinguished delegate of the United Kingdom. You have the floor.
Thank you. And thank you again to our distinguished colleagues from China. I know that we've been discussing this for some time now, and I really appreciate their approach in saying that we must reach consensus and that consensus is very important in this forum, and I fully agree. I wonder if they could set out what their thoughts are on how we might reach that consensus, because I know we're really keen to work with you on this and get to that solution. I know we've tried a lot of options over the last day or so, and so I'd be really happy to hear from them on the kind of ideas that might work for them to get us to a solution.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of the United Kingdom. Any other delegations, is it, that wishes to take the floor? The distinguished delegates of the United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thus far, in the past little while, we've heard from a few member states, but at this time, the United States would like to hear from the positions of other member states who may not have been able to express their views in this forum on this issue thus far. And we'd be interested in hearing about your position on the various proposals.
Thank you, distinguished delegates of the United States of America. Are there any other delegations who wish to share their views? Excellencies, distinguished delegates, may I propose that we have 10 minutes break for consultations?
Would that help?
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I trust you were able to make use of the time for further consultations towards reaching some solution. So at this juncture, may I please request delegations to take the floor to share what you have consulted upon. Thank you. Otherwise, are there any suggestions on how we can move forward? Distinguished delegate from China, you have the floor. Thank you.
谢谢主席先生。这个年会的主题的讨论啊，确实是非常热烈。这个是说明陈然国对我们未来1年的工作参与的积极性高，这是一个非常好的事情。我们大家都应该为此感到高兴。如果大家都不发言，只是秘书处提供什么我们就干什么，那就丧失了我们大会的意义。所以我对今天出现这种情况，我觉得这个是个好事情。那么刚才我的同事也已经表达了这个中方愿意积极配合大家，在这次会议结束前把主题定下来。以便秘书处明年能够尽早的开始明年的工作，所以我们愿意本着这种合作的精神，跟大家进行共同工作，解决这个问题。今天晚上、今天或者明天解决这个问题。所以我建议啊，或者是主席，或者是我们尊敬的各位的大使啊，或者是外交官啊，能够主动出面召集一个非正式的磋商。看看我们有没有可能在通过非正式磋商，能够进一步缩小分歧。谢谢。
Thank you, distinguished delegates of China, for your comments on the way forward. And I just heard you say that it'd be good to have informal consultations this afternoon and to finish by tomorrow. Thank you. The distinguished delegate from the United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I fully agree that it's worth us continuing to discuss this and seeking, an option that we can all agree on. I would suggest, however, that perhaps we consider setting a hard deadline for when we will finish discussions on this by tomorrow and having a default answer that we will fall back on. Perhaps that is no theme if we do not reach an answer by that point. The reason I say that is I know a lot of the delegates gathered here will have to go and get on flights tomorrow, and we have an important afternoon session to close out with. So I think we just need to have a bit of understanding about what the process would be to reach an answer from here on in.
Thank you, distinguished delegates of the United Kingdom. The floor is open for other delegates to take the floor, please. I can't read it. Australia, distinguished delegate from Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, I'd like to record the Australian delegation's support for the proposal that you had earlier outlined, Mr. Chair. Even though clearly there is not consensus support for that proposal, I just wanted to record for the floor that from the point of view of the Australian delegation, your proposal was well thought through and seemed to make the best of the situation that we find ourselves in. I'd also just like to record that while there's clearly a strong wish in the room to try to find some form of consensus, having been involved in these discussions over the last several days, it's very hard to see a clear path forward to consensus when we have three topics, all of which have a level of support from delegates, but there's no commonality among those three topics. So what are we actually seeking to achieve consensus on? It's not clear to me how we might go about doing that in a way which would be fruitful. And I do think, while it's certainly worth pursuing some form of further consultation, that should we not be able to reach consensus, then the option of no theme is one we should be considering very carefully. Thank you.
Thank the distinguished delegate of Australia. Distinguished delegate of Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, Indonesia would like to see consensus to be reached in this issue. And I think understanding the situation, I think we're very close. And I also believe that, that we can reach consensus by the way that our distinguished colleague from China mentioned, to have an informal. So if I may suggest, we could have an informal. Perhaps the Secretariat can assist us in facilitating the room. Informal perhaps tomorrow morning, because tomorrow we are a bit free. So if I can suggest, we have an informal from 9 till 12, and I suppose we can reach there. I mean, it's trying to just to be more, to getting more clarity on the issues that we're going to bring on oceans. I think there seems to be some kind of broad understanding that we want to reach a consensus, but just getting the more clarity in the issues. So I suggest that we could have an informal from 9 to 12, then hopefully we can end from that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Indonesia. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I note distinguished delegate of the United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and apologies for my delay. The United States is a little concerned that the 3 hours proposed by the distinguished delegate from Indonesia will not be enough to solve this important matter. We have already discussed this theme topic issue for far more than 3 hours at this point, and at least from the United States point of view, we are no closer to reaching consensus than we were yesterday late at night. And we are concerned that the 3 hours proposed tomorrow morning is not going to be sufficient, unless, as the distinguished delegates from both the UK and Australia have mentioned, the default would be at noon tomorrow if no consensus is reached to decide on no theme. So the United States would either suggest moving to informals now and take as long as we need to discuss this, and tomorrow morning if need be, or set a hard deadline of noon tomorrow and go with the UK and Australian proposal of no theme.
I thank the distinguished delegate of the United States of America, and having heard a number of recommendations, may I propose that the informal consultations take place immediately after we finish our work today and tomorrow morning if possible, so that we have more clarity on the theme of oceans. And the deadline by tomorrow noon, so the Secretariat will have sufficient time to prepare documents and its work. Are there any other requests for the floor from distinguished delegates? Distinguished delegate from Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My delegation would like to cooperate in whatever way possible to reach a consensus. And having said that, my delegation just wondered how much we have to decide at this point. I mean, the decision we have to make one line. I mean, the ocean and sustainable development, or something else. I don't know. I mean, so detail could be sorted out later. I mean, decision has to be made on what would be the broad scheme of things, and detail we can leave the Secretariat to discuss, consult bilaterally, or in the context of ACPR, we can follow it up just to finalize and define it, the contents of the report. So we just need to have the broad understanding of the what the general direction would be, just to get through this decision. I mean, we don't have to go into the detail and to micromanage things. I mean, if we have the broad understanding of the way forward, I think that will suffice. So let's try the until 5, for example, to see whether we have some common understanding on certain issues. Then we can decide way forward thereafter. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of Japan. May I invite the distinguished delegate of the United States of America to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to express gratitude for the comments from the distinguished delegate from Japan. I think the United States is in agreement in a request for that clarity. Additionally, I would just like to request a little bit of clarity from you, Mr. Chair, on your proposal in regards to the deadline of noon tomorrow, whether that is a deadline that negotiations must be completed, or is that the deadline at which either the chair's proposal is accepted by default or the default is no theme? Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of the United States of America. Thank you. In response, I would follow the views expressed by Japan and others that we broadly define what the theme topic of oceans will cover, and that the deadline of 12 noon would be whatever the decision would be. Are there any other requests for the floor? Distinguished delegate of the United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Sorry, forgive me. I think I sound a bit like a broken record on this one, but I wonder if we could just clarify what happens if there is no decision by 12, because many hours have been spent on discussing this already, and it seems most likely, based on past form, that we will not reach an agreement in the 3 or 4 hours that we will spend discussing it further.
I thank the distinguished delegate of the United Kingdom. May I respectfully give the floor to Madam Executive Secretary for her comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. In light of the intensive discussion, especially on the theme topic, and also the informal discussion that several of us had during the recent break, the proposal from the distinguished delegates representative from China is to have this informal discussion, as we understand it, is on the proposed theme of ocean, but to seek further clarification by way of coverage and issues, certainly not too detailed, yeah, that to be covered in the next year's study. So several member countries, if agree, then we can proceed, yeah, in this informal discussion, but certainly with a certain deadline, yeah, because we have to decide, right? Of course, we would like very much, from the point of view of Secretariat, that we can conclude as soon as possible. Therefore, one of the suggestion is we immediately after this meeting, this afternoon, we can, have this informal discussion. And one of the proposal is we do it within the working group, yeah, working group set up, which has been led by ambassador from Kazakhstan, yeah. But certainly, if no agreement emerges from this informal discussion, and by the deadline time, for example, yeah, by noon of tomorrow, then what would be the alternative? Yeah, certainly several distinguished delegates suggested, yeah, that whether no theme is an alternative. In the point of view of Secretariat, again, looking at the past years, yeah, of Commission session, as I understand that we never had no theme.
The theme only started after the 40th session.
Right, yeah, but since that session, always a theme, yeah. Therefore, I think it's not a good precedent, yeah, if we have, commission session, annual commission session, which is our premier session, and we do not have a theme, yeah. I think it's not a good precedent. Therefore, as a last resort, Secretariat would like to propose, if no consensus is reached on the theme, we would like to propose the theme more generic, yeah, which is the emerging socio-economic issues in Asia Pacific. Yeah, and we request that we are given the flexibility, yeah, in focusing on certain socio-economic issues that, in our opinion, of course, in consultation, yeah, including in consultation with experts and so on and so forth, that these are the so-called emerging socio-economic issues in Asia Pacific to be put in the next year report. So with that, I hand it over to Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Executive Secretary. The floor is open again for any comments. Distinguished delegates of China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 谢谢主席先生。 谢谢刚才殖民女士的她的这个介绍。我想，她跟我们其实指出了路线图。第一方面，先是非正式磋商，那么我们也有后备方案，就是抵案。所以我觉得这个建议非常好，我们愿意全力配合。谢谢。
I thank the distinguished delegate of China. Are there any other comments from delegations? Distinguished delegate from Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would also like to support the proposal made by the Secretariat and to go along those lines tomorrow.
Thank you, distinguished delegate of Turkey, and distinguished delegate from Samoa, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Whilst we would have much preferred to go with the initial proposal that you had suggested, given that there was more leaning towards the oceans, and we do want to record also our preference for what you had proposed. I think we have no difficulties with the proposal that the Madam Executive Secretary has put on the floor for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, distinguished delegate from Samoa. Are there any other requests for the floor? Distinguished delegate from the Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Благодарю вас, господин председатель. Нам представляется, что принятие решения по опции дефолта – это также субстантивное решение. В определенной степени принятие такого решения может предопределять ход тех дискуссий, которые предстоят в рамках неофициальных консультаций. В этой связи я бы хотел подчеркнуть следующее. Если предложенная секретариатом опция дефолта не вызывает возражения у всех делегаций и формирует базу для консенсуса, мы не будем возражать против принятия решения по опции дефолта. Но, во-вторых, мы хотели бы видеть эту опцию, представленную в письменном виде. Спасибо.
Thank the distinguished delegate of Russian Federation and distinguished delegates of United States of America.
India first.
And then India.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me the floor. The United States would like to second the request by our distinguished colleagues from the Russian Federation in being able to see this proposal in writing. Just as we understand that our informal discussion will focus on the scope of what a potential ocean theme would cover, the United States is interested also in what this proposed theme would cover. And therefore, we feel that it might pose problems without further clarification, and especially if we have to go back to Capitol on this new theme. Thank you.
Thank the distinguished delegate United States of America. The distinguished delegate of India, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to firstly thank the Secretariat for suggesting this fourth option, especially when we have seen that after weeks and weeks of consultations informally amongst all the member states, we almost had an emerging consensus, except for one delegation, which we just found not agreeable to this particular consensus. And I'd also like to support the views expressed by our distinguished colleagues from Russia and from the United States, that we will have to take this particular suggestion made by the Secretariat to our capital, and till such time, India would like to reserve on it. Thank you.
Thank the distinguished delegate from India. The distinguished delegate from Republic of Korea, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to second the request from my Russian colleague and the U.S. colleague. I think we will need to see the proposal in writing. Having said that, though, if my understanding of what the Secretary is proposing is accurate, relatively accurate, I think it's a big deviation from the discussions that have been taking place over the past months. In terms, maybe a totally new goalpost. And I think at this stage, I might be a little reluctant to go along with the Secretary's proposal, but I would like to make the final decision after seeing the written proposal. Thank you.
Thank the distinguished delegate, Republic of Korea. Are there any other requests from the floor? United States of America.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and apologies if I'm making this difficult. Given the time differences that my delegation is facing, would it be possible for the Secretary to prepare this proposal on the new theme proposed by the Executive Secretary by the conclusion of this afternoon? Unfortunately, if we are not able to provide that to Capital early this evening, I'm afraid we're going to have to also join reservations on this proposal.
Thank the distinguished delegate, United States of America. Distinguished delegate of Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I would suggest that the other default option, I would suggest the ocean and emerging social and economic issues in the Asian Pacific. And we can have discussion tomorrow because we have other outstanding items this afternoon. So we can discuss from 9 o'clock until 12 to see how much we can define the scope of the theme topic. And, but on the understanding that we are working around the issue relating to the ocean in a broader sense, and we can define the to the extent possible until tomorrow noon. If not, we decide on the one word or one line theme topic for the time being, and we can continue our discussion to finalize the definition of the theme topic will be in the next ACPL in June 20th, I guess. Thank you.
Thank the distinguished delegate of Japan. Distinguished delegate of the United States of America.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We very much appreciate the option put forward by the distinguished delegate from Japan, but unfortunately, because of the time differences, again, that does not give the United States enough time to go back to our capital with the results of the discussion tomorrow morning to make a decision. And therefore, we will either have to finish up this discussion tonight and provide all delegates with us overnight and other delegations maybe tomorrow morning to receive guidance from Capitol, or the United States will not be able to support the Secretariat's decision, unfortunately.
Distinguished Delegate, United States of America. Distinguished Delegate of the United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and apologies if I am taking too much time. One option that has not been discussed in this room, but it might be helpful to consider before moving to informals, is the consideration of this, the third topic on demographics. In our consultations and working group discussions over the past weeks, while there was very strong and opinionated support provided for both oceans and digital technologies, there was also a third vein of support for demographics that, at least in the United States view, is a little less contentious. And while the United States wants to reiterate our firm support for the first topic of oceans, in the spirit of compromise, we are putting forward the suggestion of demographics in this context, and would appreciate views from other delegations on whether or not we can make this decision in a timely manner now.
I thank the distinguished delegate of the United States of America, and the floor is open to distinguished delegates on the proposal for demographics. Distinguished Delegate of the Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Chair. Changing demographics is an important issue for the Republic of Korea, and therefore, if consensus emerges on this item, we'll be more than happy to join. Thank you.
I thank the Delegate of the Republic of Korea.
Let's see, does anybody else have any
Are there any other requests for the floor in response to the United States of America's? Otherwise, may I remind, being cognizant that we will be losing interpretation in about 20 minutes, and we have further business to conclude by the end of this afternoon, I propose that we convene informals to discuss oceans and identify the broad scope of the topic. In the meantime, the Secretariat will prepare a brief outcome tonight, which could be covered under the theme Emerging Socio-Economic Issues in Asia and the Pacific. Excellencies, delegates, may I rephrase what I had just said before? In view of losing interpretation in about 15 minutes, and we have further business to conclude, I propose that we convene informals to discuss oceans and identify the broad scope of the topic. If there is no consensus on that tonight, then we fall back on the option. The fallback option will be the current third option on navigating changing demographics. Is this agreeable to Excellencies and distinguished delegates? Distinguished delegate of the United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The United States would just like to express our sincere gratitude to the Secretariat for taking into consideration our concerns, especially given the time differences that we are facing. And we would be happy to accept this proposal of the default position being the third option on demographics.
I thank the distinguished delegates of the United States of America. The floor is still open. Any other comments? Distinguished delegate of India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the floor again. We would like to reiterate that we still reserve on any such proposals being made at this stage. Thank you.
Thank the distinguished delegate of India. If there are no further comments, we shall proceed with
As I have just outlined.
What has just been outlined. Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, can we now draw your attention to draft decision 36 as contained in CRP 1? As I understand, there is general consensus on the first part of the decision regarding the date and venue of the 76th session of the Commission. Therefore, may I propose that we split draft decision 36 into two decisions. The first decision regarding the date and venue of the next Commission session, and the second, draft 36 bis. But we will concentrate on the first decision. Is this agreeable to everyone? Distinguished delegate of Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you. With regard to the date and venue, I think we have deleted the decision in contained in paragraph 32. So we have no decision on date at this point. We will come back to that in the context of ACPR and decide. I think the 1820 second is third week of of May. That's his original proposal, which was not supported by the committee. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished delegate of India. May I ask the Secretary of the Commission to take the floor, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a point of clarification. While the decision draft decision 32 was referring to a general operating principle by the Commission to more or less fix the time frame for when the Commission will be held, and there were various proposals discussed under that draft decision. Draft decision 36, in this instance, is to take it 1 year at a time and to identify the dates for the next year's session. And this is identifying the dates for the next year's Commission session, taking into account all the different variables that we have to face, including the holidays, the local, the global holidays, other meetings that may be taking place around the region and around the globe. So this is actually was intended as a completely separate decision from the previous discussions about a general operating principle to fix dates at a certain time frame. This is meant to be in line with Commission Rules of Procedure 1, in which the Commission is called on to fix the dates of its next year's session at the current session. So this is fully in line with the Rules of Procedure Rule 1, and that's all that this draft decision is trying to address. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the Secretary of the Commission. Are there any other comments from the floor? I see no other comments. It is so decided.
Then we have to go back to
Number 20.
yeah. Okay, so then that ends today, and then we go to that ends today, and then we go to the informals. Okay. Then this concludes our deliberations. To just say.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, this concludes our deliberations for today. We will return to the outstanding items tomorrow when we take up consideration of the draft report of this session. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, distinguished delegates, United States of America, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Apologies if I missed this. I do believe that we are going into informals, but can we have clarification on as where and when they are? Here. Okay, great. Now? Okay.
Yeah, so may I have your attention, please? So for delegations wishing to take part in the informal consultations, sorry, Chair, I recognize the distinguished delegate of Japan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to understand the status of consultation on the other outstanding issue. I mean, I don't know when we are going to discuss it.
Sorry, may I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? So the question from the distinguished delegate of Japan was the status of the other consultations on the other outstanding items. The Secretariat's understanding is that further additional consultations are required, which is why the chair adjourned the meeting until tomorrow to enable the informal consultations to begin right away here in this room. Thank you.
Distinguished delegate of Japan, you have the floor.
So may I take it that it would mean that the agenda item 6.4J and the 9 is still open? I mean, we are not going in the afternoon. What's happened? We're going to start these agenda items under the committee of the whole, and then after at some point we move on to the plenary session. we want to have clarity on the way forward. Thank you.
If you'll indulge the Secretary, we'll figure it out and inform everybody as soon as possible. It shouldn't be long, but we just need a few moments to collect ourselves and figure out a way forward for everybody. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and just in order to save your time, please, let's start. Okay, my suggestion is we will start with the ocean. And it's understood, you know, it was proposed by China to understand what it's include. That's why, you know, we have a scope of the, can you have all of you this theme? Document is, just a second, 75/32. I'm sure you did read this, all this paragraph, like 6, 7, 8, 9 about, ocean. And I would like to get from you comments and suggestions, but we are not talking about changing the text. We are talking about generally what we are thinking. Please, any comments?
Just take notes. Just take notes. We're not negotiating.
China, please.
Madam Chair.
We don't have interpretation, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I speak in English, not Chinese. Could you show the 3 options on screen first?
Just a second.
I just would like to, in order to show the maximum flexibility and also take into consideration the urgency to address this issue, my delegation would like to flag some idea to have some kind of combo between option 1 and option 2. We have no exact wording, but I just would like to test the water to seek the response from the membership, whether it could fly. Thank you.
Lorenzo, we got to take the web off. This is not going to be on the web.
Okay, as understood, you would like the Chinese delegation would like to combine first and second. And do you have any comments on that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the suggestion, but my delegation is not clear about the what it means to combine 1 and 2.